There is nothing you have to do. There is a lot.
This message is for you. That being withdrew their energy from you. They thought they were your supply. They didn't know your inner radiance was like a generator. You didn't fall. You didn't collapse. You went inside yourself and you recalibrated. You cracked open the God inside. That divine essence leaked out of you. You bottled it up, and now you use it to vibrate at a whole nother level. And now that light emanating from you is so fiery and bright, you're about to light the whole world on fire.
Force. This is the kind of shift that reorders finances, reroutes relationships, repositions destiny. You are being carried into a moment that looks like a quiet evening. But behind the scenes, thunder is rolling. Decisions are being made. Paperwork is being moved. Systems are being rearranged. And your name is on the list of divine priority. You are being watched by heaven, not in judgment, but in celebration. This is the time when the hidden oil inside you is finally recognized. You've walked through rooms where your value was overlooked. You've stood in line behind those who got ahead using shortcuts. But God doesn't forget oil. He doesn't ignore process. He honors endurance. And now, the scent of your anointing is rising in the spiritual atmosphere. It is causing things to shift, rooms to open, and unexpected favor to knock. The kind of favor that doesn't ask permission. It just enters. You've had days when you almost let go. Moments where you asked if all this obedience was even worth it. Nights where you cried and questioned why the promise felt so far. But those tears weren't wasted. They watered the seeds. They proved your heart. And now the harvest is forming. There is urgency in the spiritual realm today because your window is here. Not later. Not months from now. Today. And to miss it would mean delaying what is already approved. This divine window will not look like a miracle at first. It may show up as a phone call, a message, a strange coincidence. But make no mistake, it's God. His fingerprints are all over what's coming. Don't judge the package, just receive. That's why you must stay open, stay listening. Something about your spirit already knows what this is. You feel it. You've sensed it before you could explain it. It's because this blessing was made for you.
You did something that can explain. You accessed something you weren't supposed to touch. You became something that doesn't show up in their books, their rituals, their carefully constructed hierarchies of who's powerful and who's pretending. You're not following the rules. You didn't go through the initiations. You didn't spend years under a mentor. You didn't pay dues or learn the secret handshakes or memorize the ancient texts. You just woke up one day and decided to stop asking permission from the universe. And you started taking what was already yours. They're used to power that announces itself. Power that comes with credentials, with lineages, with proof of study. But you're a different breed entirely. You're the anomaly that walked into the game without reading the instruction manual and somehow figured out cheat codes that aren't supposed to exist. You learned to manipulate probability without calling it manifestation. You learned to read people's intentions before they've finished forming thoughts. You learned to shift the energy in a room without saying a single word, just by deciding that's what would happen now. And the people who've spent their whole lives thinking they were the masters of these arts are looking at you like you're a glitch in their carefully controlled simulation. Because that's exactly what you are. Here's what they don't want you to know. There's a hierarchy in the spiritual world, in the unseen realms, and it's built on the same bullshit as every other human system. Gatekeeping. People love to act like power is earned through suffering, through years of practice, through paying your dues to the right teachers. But what you discovered, what you stumbled into during your darkest nights when no one was watching, and you had nothing left to lose. That's the real secret. Power isn't earned. Power is recognized. And you recognized it in yourself before anyone gave you permission to. You didn't wait for a coven to accept you. You didn't wait for a guru to tell you that you were ready. You looked into the abyss, and instead of flinching, you said, move over. You're the person who went through hell. You didn't just survive it. You studied it. You took notes. You learned the language of pain and betrayal and loss. And then you turned that knowledge into a weapon, not against others, but against every limitation anyone ever tried to place on you. You became fluent in frequencies they only read about. You mastered transmutation while they were still trying to figure out protection. You learned to move through dimensions of consciousness they think required decades of meditation. And you did it all in the dark, alone, with no guide but your own burning need to never be that powerless again. You're unreadable, not because you're blocking them, but because you've become something that exists outside their frame of reference. You're operating on frequencies they haven't calibrated their tools for yet. And that brings us to the question everyone's asking. Who taught you? Because in their world, power like yours requires a teacher. It requires lineage. Someone had to show you. Someone had to pass down the knowledge. Except nobody did they? You didn't have a mentor guiding you through your awakening. You had betrayal teaching you discernment. You had heartbreak teaching you boundaries. You had isolation teaching you self-reliance. You had pain teaching you transmutation. You had your own darkness teaching you that you were never the fragile thing they convinced you that you were. Your teachers were your traumas, and instead of breaking under their lessons, they see someone who's figured out that reality is more flexible than they were taught, and you're bending it in ways that shouldn't be possible without the proper training. They see someone who doesn't ask for protection, because you've become the thing that others need protection from. Not because you're harmful, but because your presence demands authenticity, and most people are living lies. You're a walking truth serum. You're a mirror that doesn't lie. You're a frequency that exposes every fake facade within a 3-mile radius. And that makes you dangerous in all the ways that matter. You passed through because you were ready to handle this level of responsibility. Ready to face the weight of real choices.
Welcome to Group 7.
Thoughts are things.
Are you ready?
Your words are weapons.
Let's go. We're the chosen, we're the one. Lights a flash and drop it gun.
This isn't ego. This isn't delusion.
From the shadows into the neon. Group 7 rises till the dawn.
It's still there. Still
Hands up high. Together now. Feel the vibe. Group 7 gonna come alive. Group 7. Wait on the night. Faces thunder. Hearts ignite. Group 7. Here's our call. We rise together. We never fall.
translated as impossible truths. It's not comfortable. It's not easy. It's not what anyone would choose if they knew what it really meant. But you didn't choose it from knowledge. You chose it from knowing. Different thing entirely. Knowledge is what they gave you back there. Facts and figures, rules and regulations. Knowing is what you found in the fire. Truth that can't be taught, only discovered. Wisdom that can't be given, only earned. Power that can't be granted, only claimed. And you claimed it. You earned it. You discovered it. That's why you're here. That's why you've passed. That's why everything is different now. They want to know your secret. Want to know how you did it. Want to know what changed. But there's no secret to tell. No formula to share. No path to point out. You didn't follow a map. You became one. You didn't find a way. You created it. You didn't discover truth. You became it. And that's not something you can package and sell. Not something you can teach in a course. Not something you can explain in words that make sense to those still sleeping. Your very existence now is the teaching. Your presence is the lesson. Your life becomes the proof that there's more, much more than what they've been told is possible. You don't need to convince anyone of anything. You just need to be what you are, fully, completely, unapologetically. That's enough. That's everything. That's the whole point. Welcome to the other side. where nothing is as it seems, and everything is exactly as it is, where paradox is normal, and contradiction is truth, where you can be completely alone and absolutely connected simultaneously, where you can be nobody and everybody, nothing and everything all at once. This is the place where duality dissolves, where boundaries blur, where the impossible becomes inevitable. You'll learn new rules here, not rules imposed, but rules discovered, like how reality responds to certainty, not hope. How the universe speaks in synchronicities, not words. How power flows through surrender, not force. How creation happens in the void, not the noise. These aren't things you learn from books or teachers. These are things you learn from living at this frequency. Your old tools won't work here. Your old strategies are obsolete. Your old ways of navigating reality are like using a map of London to navigate Tokyo. Everything you thought you knew about how things work has to be relearned, recontextualized, rebuilt from the ground up,